Back here now at 9:49 on Live Impact News. So we're talking to homeowners who have filed a lawsuit against their builder homeowner association / developer, who in turn then filed a lawsuit against them. We want to talk, Stephen, you brought up a point. When you bought into your home, you were told that you were going to get some warranties on that home. And then what happened?
Yes, at the closing that we had, we did receive a packet that said there was a warranty, but when we called the actual insurance company, there was no warranty. The declarant had contacted the insurance company, got a quote, but he never went through with the actual insurance. So we had a warranty that was useless. I mean, personally, we had expenses in our home to replace a water heater, had difficulties with the washer dryer, as well as the refrigerator and the air conditioner. So my out-of-pocket to repair was over $4,000.
And you were told that warranty was going to be good for a year?
I believe it was 10 years.
10 years. Okay, because you bought a new home.
Well, I was a rebuyer.
Oh, okay.
So the home was less than a year old when I bought it.
Got it.
And I was told by him that the warranty was null and void because I rebought the house.
Okay, so what sounds to be like a nightmare of an HOA situation in your neighborhood, you think you're getting all of these things, it culminates into the point where you've gathered now as a group, neighbor and neighbor, and you're realizing that you share some of the same frustrations and challenges. And what happened to go ahead and file like this? Enough is enough. We need to do something about it through the court system.
I think collectively all homeowners were very frustrated, and we just finally had enough and said it's time to move forward to see if we can to get help, to stop the madness that we were feeling. And if that wasn't enough, it's even gotten worse. So
I think individually we tried to communicate our needs and frustrations with the HOA and never got a response. And it forced us to seek help through the legal system. And we also contacted a lot of state agencies, whereby to date they really haven't been helpful.
Yeah, because this lawsuit is certainly the four of you, but there are more than a dozen names on the plaintiff list.
I think there were actually 20 initially.
20 homeowners,
20
but over 30 people listed.
Over 30 people listed in this lawsuit.
Yes.
And you go to trial suing for?
Fiduciary transparency.
Explain.
As the declarant would spend money, and when we would ask for budgets, what the money was spent on, if we were lucky, we got an answer of that's the HOA's responsibility. In most instances, we got no response, and so we were seeing things in the neighborhood that, the certain areas, his properties, would be mowed or mulched or aerated. My property has never seen that. We started, personally, I really didn't start reaching out to folks until it went from the perception that it was a rental community with nothing overt, I'll say, to I came home one day and lining the exterior of the neighborhood were the for rent, rentals, move-in specials, and things like that, where it became an active community. And so with that being the case and that narrowing my options is when to exit the community, because who wants to buy in a rental community and own a home? That's when I started looking, and I guess when there were already folks talking to attorneys, and when I came in, the conversation started going around fiduciary, and that's what was, I would say, in my opinion, the driving force behind everything.
Yeah, we just wanted accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability, all the things that are listed in CCNRs
Correct.
that you said, that say that what you are covered for and your closing contract.
Right.
Okay. So also, you sent the letters to some government agencies separately without any response or any assistance or any counsel or guidance, yeah?
Correct.
It's really disappointing that we don't have anyone to really intervene and help us with, these serious issues we're having, and that North Carolina in general does not really help the homeowner. There's nobody that really looks out for us and makes these HOAs, abide by the law. There's
Yeah.
no accountability whatsoever.
That has been a complaint that the protections are not enough to cover homeowners.
When personally, I reached out to Consumer Protection, just because of things that we had in writing, things that we were told when we were buying, marketing of the properties and things like that, that really didn't come true. So when I reached out to the Consumer Protection Agency, the response I got was they forwarded my complaint to the people that were named in the complaint. The response came back from their attorney that there is civil litigation. I responded after that that supported my claim that because of an HOA and it not being a homeowner individual community, and that was the last I heard of it.
What was it? What happened at trial?
Disaster. Complete
Got sued.
disaster.
Got countersued for defamation. Everyone.
For reaching out to those government officials. I had sent an email to our state representative, and at trial, these three were able to go up onto the stand, but during the trial, because of time constraints, and now that they've been able to bring in a defamation suit against us, we weren't able to get our whole case in. Our trial should have been more than 2 weeks. And now we had to split a trial between the other party. This was December 8th when it started, and the judge wanted to have it done before Christmas. So we had 2 weeks to get this trial in, and now we had to split time. And when you look at everything that happened, it boiled down to only 6 days for our side. And then we had the developer, the builder, on the stand on a Tuesday, and right before lunch. We broke for lunch, and the judge said, okay, today at 5 o'clock, your side will be done. I had not made it on the stand yet, and I had very incriminating evidence against him that would have solved a lot of issues. So the lawyers on both sides talked. Since we were in a time crunch now, I was going to be a witness for the other side. And so I never made it to the stand.
Because they were blending, it was our fiduciary trial as well as the defamation. The judge had taken the decision, instead of a witness being called in the fiduciary aspect of the trial, then having to wait and then being called in the defamation part of the trial, they were going to combine the two. And so there was, the attorneys negotiated who was going to call who, and made the arrangement. And the question that I had asked at that time, because I had actually heard the negotiations because I was sitting in the first row, the question I asked at the time is, since we were going to be called by the counter defendant, or, I mean, it gets confusing when you start using the word defendant everywhere, there would be no redirect for us. And so I questioned that, and they were like, we'll take care of that on the direct. And so I know myself, Steve, were you on that,
Was-
on
And
that
one
as
other
well.
homeowner.
Yeah, where there was no redirect, we were questioned by their side. Our attorneys came up, did what they needed to do, answering the questions that were presented previously, but then the other attorneys had the redirect option.
And that's where I come into play.
And you didn't have.
I never made it to the stand.
chance on the stand.
No, they never called me. We tried to call them. Our side tried to bring me to the stand, and they objected and said that you can't, she's our witness, you can't rebut our witness. And they never called me to the stand. I had the smoking gun, and they knew it. I had him admitting that he was going to own every one of those homes in our neighborhood. And I never got to tell my story.
But how in the
Sickens.
world, if you've got such a dire situation like this and you reach out to government agencies for help, extreme help, that conversation goes nowhere. It's supposed to be private and protected. The judge even said that. So then how in the world does that get turned around to an actual
As
defamation
a
case?
defamation. So
Yes.
out of 30 names, the 4 of you, because you sent out grievances or corresponded with, these agencies, that you were also called out for a bigger damage, a punitive damage
Mhm.
decision?
Yes.
There was the list, that when they read the list, it was all the homeowners that were involved, and they went down the list, and it was the 4 of us who were found liable for defamation.
We're also part of the ones that had to file a restraining order initially against him too. So he obviously had a target against us.
It was
Okay.
definitely punitive.
In our
Definitely.
opinion, it was
In our
punitive.
Yes.
Okay. And yes, I mean, and yeah, this is what you experienced and how
Mhm.
you see how it ended.
How we felt.
How you
Yes.
felt. Thank you. And so we got a smoking gun that was never allowed to be seen or heard, and now where you are now. So this is where you are now, right? You've been dealt the verdict, and now have filed for a new trial. And where are you with that?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, everything's kind of on hold until I think the judge has to do some more filings, and then she'll determine when we're going to have another hearing.
I'm curious, what did your attorney say when, we know that you needed to be on that stand, and how could they correct or remedy the situation at the time?
My opinion, it was all in design from their side, that they knew that they were not going to allow time for her to come to the stand.
Mm.
And I think at that time our attorneys realized maybe they got played.
And I believe our attorneys, even because what the judge said, the agencies that we had reached out to, I think the word was qualified immunity when you reach out to a government agency. And so, stealing a word I recently heard, I believe they were gobsmacked just as we were when they started reading the names, and then they start finding us liable for the defamation.
Oh.
And the total amount was collectively, between the 4 of us, over $4 million.
Wow. So that right there stops me in my tracks. That's
There was no
a
compa-
convincing, the jury.
There was no compensatory damages. All of these damages were punitive.
All right. So what do we do now? Or what do you do now?
We can't even do anything with the regular lawsuit until we get past this defamation part.
But we have started a GoFundMe.
Okay.
Yes.
What we can do now is pay attorney's bills.
Ugh.
And because it is all being driven by defamation, it is the 4 of us that are carrying that, where the fiduciary lawsuit and everything was a shared responsibility between, I want to say 20 of the 20 homeowners, where because of the defamation and how that fell, it is on the 4 of us.
20 homes.
And our spouses.
Yes. 20 homes, because it turns out to be a lot more than 20.
Wow.
I mean, if you can just imagine that many people having an issue with one person, that in itself is quite eye-opening.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, right?
And as we said, the landscaping is just such a small part of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that scratches the surface, just the beginning,
Mhm.
and then so much more. We need to close this out. We'll do that here after the break on Live Impact News.